Hello all and welcome to today's webinar, Finishing the Attack Under the Microscope. My name is Warren Hackett. I'm a National Coach Developer and I'd like to welcome my colleague today, Senior Coach Developer, Paul McGuinness. How you doing, Paul? You okay?
Hi, Warren. Good to see you.
Good. Okay, so session aims today, utilising observational skills, further interrogation using the Quadrant tool, recap on key factors, observing connections between players on, around and away from the ball. So here's our England DNA, finishing the attack. Just the typical things you'd look for on here would be inbox crosses, triangle, wide crosses, penetrative passes, but also having the mind of the organisation and security behind the ball. So Paul, I'm just going to lead you into this diagram here now, where you're going to obviously go into some real depth and detail around finishing the attack in the final third. So over to you.
Yeah, I mean, just in first look, you think, wow, look how much stuff there is here. But that is, there's so much going on in the final third, so many different solutions to the problem of beating that block, the defence. So we're going to have a look at it bit by bit, really. We'll break it down, make it less fussy. But I think you'll recognise a lot of the patterns and the movements that are in there. So yeah, that's made it a little bit clearer. So if we just look at the two sort of rings around the bottom, the blue rings, I've put those in because a lot of the time you're playing around. There might be the deepest one, furthest towards the back with the defenders, and then the midfield players might be playing around in that ring around the box, looking for the right pass, looking for the penetrative pass to set the move going. That also doubles up as a security ring. So you'll see now a lot of teams, say Man City, have recently been putting their fullbacks into that ring as well to make sure that not only have they got a base from which to make the play and make the pass, but if it breaks down, they've got security behind the ball to win it back quickly and to stop any counterattacks. So that's the reason for those rings being in there. Mm-hmm. And it might be they've changed play and got the ball wide. And these don't just happen wide, but they will happen predominantly in a wide position. So you've got the normal underlap where, say, a fullback might underlap a wide man. That's there, and you see within the quadrant where the space is for the defender to make that run for the attacking player. Yeah. Another sort of common one here on the right there is the horizontal run. So it might be a wide man who is just making a run, a blindside run inside horizontal. Behind the defender, or of course the normal sort of traditional overlap where you'd make a run, commit the fullback, and then slide someone in to get the space on the outside. So those might be three types of runs that are going on.
Yeah.
And then sort of more in and around the box, but these could also happen inside the box. We've mainly concentrated on runs outside the box here. But again, you see where the quadrant is, that's how we sort of observing the defender's position and the forward in this case, and then the pass would then go, say if we're on the right hand side of the box, there's a blindside run. So you might get, say, someone like Sterling playing for England or Man City making that little blindside run as the defenders may be caught looking at the ball, would be a common one. And I think it does help. Then you see the sort of shaded area that shows you where the pass, the receiver sort of creates that space and creates a picture really for where the passer might play the pass. The next one along is just opening up, where the striker may open up their position and open the space off to the right in this case, and that gives a clear picture for the passer to make that pass away from the defender.
Yeah.
Centrally, it might be dropping off into a space. If the defender doesn't come, it would be then maybe turning out to maybe open up to get a shot or slide a pass in. Or if the defender does come, it might create space for someone else to come. And then you'll see on the right, maybe another common one is running across the face of the defender, or actually pinning the defender and maybe getting the ball down the side and a moving screen. So all different options that we all need to know about as coaches, different pictures that might occur. And in that sense, on the left, sort of deeper, are the type of passes you might need. So you'll need clever passes maybe, which might be disguised passes, where it looks like one type of pass and then maybe reversed a reverse pass, a scoop pass, a chipped creative pass over or through the defence. And you might get on the right those sort of runs from deep, not just runs on the edge of the box. So maybe a wide player making a run in behind, or a deeper player, midfield player, or defender making a run into the box.
Okay.
And then, of course, if the quickest way is a pass for a run to get through, but that might not be on. With good defending blocking it, then you might need combinations where you can't get directly through, but you might need to combine. So you've got the 1-2, which might get you through. And that could be not just in this position, but anywhere around the box. You're looking for a 1-2 to get in behind the defence or to get a space available. Or it might be even a third man run where you play off, say, a point here or play between two players and get a third pass. So that's a case of where the receiver is really looking for the second pass. He's not looking for the first pass, but he's looking for the pass that goes in off someone else, and then they make that third man run. So that's another one that's on that first slide you showed of combinations in around the box, another way to get through. And of course, there's dribbles. That could be anywhere around the edge of the box, looking to get wide and get a cross in, to get inside the box, get those cutbacks, or it might be to get a shot off around the box, or it might be a dribble that leads to a combination maybe, or a little pass through for someone else. Next one we've sort of covered through is a variety of crosses. So on the right, you've got a cross sort of inside the box, what they call it, the inside box cross across the 6-yard box. Alternatively, it might be a cutback. You might be having a near post cross or across to the far post. If that's blocked the area with someone in the near post space, then quite often a pass behind that space into sort of the second 6-yard box can be a dangerous area. Particularly Liverpool, really good at these. Alexander-Arnold, if someone's filling that near post space, he'll cut it back across the second 6-yard box. Might be an early cross behind the defence, or in swinging crosses, or crosses from deep. So you've got a variety of ways to penetrate around the box, and we just thought that would be good to sort of break down and give an idea of those pictures and the runs that people might want to make.
Okay.
And then, the last bit, obviously a lot of those would be within the box. So that would be, I'm calling it predator movement inside the box. And basically a library of finishes. You think of someone like Harry Kane, he's got a finish for every situation. And a lot of those movements would be there, blindside runs, little cutbacks, all those little movements, a run across the front of the defender, pinning the defender, all those would also be happening inside the box. And the last one there is power shooting from the edge. It might be cleared, or a little dribble and a shot to get a power shot. And they all comes back in together. There's obviously a lot, but we'd be working at them in sessions to get a variety of options that that you're trying to get. So without this, a picture of these in your head, it's very hard to design your sessions. If you've got these pictures in your head, then you're more likely to be able to design realistic sessions where they might come up.
I mean, obviously, a lot of this, Paul, is determined on the defenders as well. I mean, we're looking at all the different attributes and different skills that you need in and around the box to finish and to be able to create space. But ultimately, with the defence in place, determines where you move, how you should move, and that type of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, then you're looking also what we talked about in that model we've used before is the context. What's the defender's strengths as opposed to the forwards? Is it a quick forward who gets across the near post, or is it a tall forward who comes to the back post and maybe gets a header in? What's the strengths and weaknesses? Is it someone who drops off and creates little pockets behind them and can play passes through? So it's all strengths and weaknesses against their opponent. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to look at what are the solutions to the game challenges within finishing the attack phase. Obviously, we've gone through some. So if you just want to talk around the observational skills, Paul, the before, during, after.
Yeah, this is something now that the guys on the course, guys and girls on the course will know a lot about. Hopefully by now they've been taking the 11-a-side game and zooming in, putting it under the microscope, looking before, during, after receiving, and in that sense looking at where's the space for the defender, what do they need to control, what do the attacker try to exploit, and we're trying to get those clear pictures, the pictures we've just seen. Is it a blindside run? Is it a run across? Is it someone dropping off? We're trying to, look for the spaces that they're trying to exploit.
Okay, we just cue in a video for us, please, Si. So, Paul, do you want to just talk us through what you see, really?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's really clever play, defensive play by Sterling to read the action and intercept. And then you're looking at what's the relationship between the passer and receiver. Can he get the ball here, Kane? He can't get it because the defender's blocking it, but he's blindside of the defender, which means he can make a deceptive move to check out and get the cutback. And that's the signal then to the passer. And now that he gets a quality finish to really arrange his feet quickly and his body. And watch here, his body position, his footwork's great. And then he arranges his body quickly and makes sure that he stays on the ball, gets the body in the right position there to keep over the ball. Look how he stays on the ball and holds his position in his contact there rather than leaning back and getting underneath the ball. He's really making sure, again, the footwork here, and then making sure that he adjusts. And in the duel with the goalkeeper, he's so close that the goalkeeper got no chance if he keeps it down. So, yeah, terrific play, really.
Yeah, I mean, huge. I mean, the connection between the two is brilliant now. As I said, the defenders kind of stood in the space where you kind of think that Sterling may receive it, play it to the left-hand side of the defender. And then between the two of them, it's like telepathy, isn't it? They've seen that there's no space there. Kane's then obviously identified the space on the outside. And like you said, the finish was sublime.
Yeah.
So if we just go on to the detail, Paul, that we've just spoke about, just looking from a different lens. So the passer, on the quadrant here, if we look at it, what Paul's just mentioned as passer-receiver relationship, Sterling, where he's driving into, where the yellow obviously equals their defender. Then you're looking at the way Harry Kane shifts from one part of the trident into the red part of the trident now, because that's the space. That's where the space has been created for him on the blind side of the defender. And obviously, the technical execution for the finish, and the keeper's right across the front post, obviously anticipating a cross from Sterling. And obviously Kane's finish has just sort of been able to play it into an empty goal, but under duress pressure, really, from the way the ball's played to him. The ball's sort of behind him, knee over the ball, shoulder, head down to keep the ball down. So, it was a brilliant finish, Paul.
Yeah, and I think this is a good slide for us to sort of say the process that we're going to go throughout the whole session here. Is the fact that we're going to look and highlight step by step the passer and receiver relationship. Maybe put that under the quadrant and look at all the key factors involved in that. At the same time, will be happening at the same time a lot of the time, that what's the duel with the defender? By getting away from the defender, you're sending the passer certain signals to where you want the ball. But in that case, he was really deceptive by being blindside, quickly moving his feet. And then the next part of it, he will break it down into what's the duel with the goalkeeper. We've had the duel with the opponent. Now the duel with the goalkeeper, what's he looking for? And then the real technical execution once he's made his decision on the finish. So that's how we'll break down each of these clips that we go through eventually, yeah.
So what skills and attributes do players require in order to overcome the challenges that the game presents themselves? So again, Paul, just going through your key factors in your diagram here.
Yeah, just to repeat what we've done on the other courses, context is basically the strengths and weaknesses maybe of the players, the opponent, and the attacking player. What's their strengths? How do they use them against their opponent? Position, yeah, here obviously he's blindside. That's what he's looking for, but we'll look at the position, the scanning. How does he scan for the passer and receiver relationship? He's scanning where the goalkeeper is. He's scanning the position of the defenders, and then the footwork, the movement, and then deception. Here in this case, it's blindside, so the defender can't see him. It's deceptive movement, the timing at which he makes the move, and then of course the technique. What's the actual finish in the end? What's the pass like as well? Because the pass was vital to be left playable first time, and then the technique to get over the ball and finish. And we'll sort of go through that on each of our, each of the ones we're looking at, we're observing. And yeah, just to add in, now we got to this stage in the course, really, all those things, the position, scanning, movement, deception, time, all those things, they add up to anticipation and communication. The communication of the body language of Kane to say, this is where I want the ball, and the whole movement, but also the anticipation to read where the defender is going, to read where the goalkeeper will be. All those type of things, I think, are inherent within that model. Yeah. Yeah, and again, as we're doing it, it's a systematic process, to look at from head down. So we're looking from the head down because it's vital. Without scanning and getting the information, then we're not going to see the next part. So we'd start with that systematically. Observe the range, frequency, timing of the scanning skills. That's absolutely vital. And the top players are looking all the time, checking the goalkeeper's position, checking the defender's head, the position, checking for the little signals from Harry Kane to Sterling and so on. And then we're looking at the body position, shoulders, arms, hips, the way that he dipped down his body to keep over the ball, Kane, in that situation, and the footwork to get him into place, and the stride pattern and the connection on the ball. So we're looking at all those things very closely. And just to recap again, Warren.
Yeah. So again, just another way of looking at it. So we just break it down for you process by process. So obviously here's the same snapshot. Sterling about to go in and win the ball. So again, his anticipation, the keeper's played it, he's read it really, really well, and he's able to win it. Once he's won it, it's again, the way we spoke about the passer relationship, the passer receiver relationship. So, he's drove inside, he's in the byline. Sometimes, wide players might want to cross early to finish at the near post, but he's kind of kept his composure, and he's linked in with Sterling. Obviously, he's linked in to look up where Kane is. And because Kane hasn't made that move and the defender's blocking the passing lane, he's then anticipating as to where he may go to. So obviously Kane goes into that blind space in behind the defender. So the duel with the defender, it's made it easier for Kane because not at any point does the defender look around to see where Kane is. He's totally fixated on where the ball and where Sterling is. So obviously he's able to run on the blind side of him. So he beats his opponent. The next one for me is the duel with the goalkeeper. So again, the keeper's probably anticipating Sterling to cross, so he's probably overcommitted at the near post. And once that ball's cut back, Kane's pretty much got a big gap in between the middle of the goal to score. So his duel with the goalkeeper is easier because his technique's good. And then finally, we spoke about the technical execution of the finish. So although he's in a good position, still needs to be composed, still needs to get his knee and his head over the top of the ball to be able to finish calmly into the goal. So there's the process that you're looking at. So a great way of pressing high, winning the ball, relationship between passer, receiver, duel with your opponent, duel with the goalkeeper, and obviously executing the finish. So what does the game look like within the game? So again, we're gonna watch a video. So Si, if you could play the video for us, please. So again, Paul, you just want to break it down and sort of talk through this clip for us, please?
Yeah, well, I think you've got 3 blindside runs. First, the winger runs blindside to get through here. So that's a blindside run. Now, the striker here has run away and now just about to play the ball through. And she's created that picture. She's revealed the picture she wants for the pass. And of course, you've got the wide player here who's going to score. He's also blindside of her marker and slides in and get a really good contact. So I think it's worth just going back on that a second, if I can get hold of it. I'll just drag it back slightly. So if we look here, as it comes in here, we've already looked here at the striker, but if we look at the fullback here, she's also blindside here. So that's highlighting the striker, but the goal scorer here is blindside, just a little bit offside here, but just means, look there, she just sees now the defender's seen her for the first time. So again, that blindside position, that cunning, being deceptive, being in a position to see the passer, to get that relationship with the passer, but also to lose the defender. And then she comes in. I mean, I think the finish is really good because she doesn't swing at it. She gets a really good contact. This cuts out the goalkeeper completely, and it's a great position at the far post. And yeah, no swinging, just bang, really good contact with the foot to make sure she stays on the ball. Yeah.
Yeah, very good play. Let me just load the next video for us, please, Si. So if we just look at this and we just look at Eddie Nikita, who's just off the ball here. So again, you've got movement going forward. He comes deep. He looks there. If you look at the quadrant now, he's kind of getting, first thing he's doing is getting in between defenders, and he's created space in behind by coming deep. The way he spins on the ball there and takes it all in one motion is fantastic, and just calmly gets across the defender and calmly finishes. But if we go again and we look at another angle here, and you can really see the way he takes the ball and kind of spins in a 180 movement and doesn't lose any momentum. But for me, it's the first touch here in that quadrant to come across the defender that opens up the goal scoring opportunity for me. So this touch here that he takes, now he's in control. Now the defender can't touch him. And then now you're thinking about his duel with the goalkeeper. He sort of stays upright and he's able to slot in calmly. So again here, across the defender. But here he looks up, he knows exactly where the keeper is. He knows there's pressure from behind, doesn't panic, and just calmly just lifts it into that corner. Great composure. Paul, anything on that?
Yeah, it's a lovely goal, isn't it? I mean, again, taking it step by step, those 4 parts, the relationship with the passer, he gets into space, shows clearly where the pass can go. He beats the first defender, I think it's the 4, by being blindside. And then the second defender, the duel there, he uses his body as a barrier by cutting right across him at that point. This is brilliant play. There's footwork there, the technique. And then I love this. You can't tell it's coming. He's all in his stride. So the duel with the goalkeeper is great deception. And he takes it close enough here, but he's scanning the goalkeeper's position. He looks up, but you just don't know when he's going to play. It just looks like another step, this. So the deception just looks like another step. You don't know. It's not really any extra backlift. And he's got to a position where the goalkeeper's no chance. Look how close he is. The speed of it beats him. So, the execution was superb to, not break his stride, not give any clues. It's, every section of that goal was brilliant, really. Yeah.
Yeah, top class. Si, you got another clip for us, please?
Yeah, and here's the passer and receiver relationship. He just peels out to give a little bit of space. Then he beats the defender with a little change of speed and direction, and then beats the goalkeeper with pace, but with brilliant accuracy. So we see it here. Look, now he's starting to give a picture to the passer, reveal what he wants. Now drags it just that yard. We'll see it again. Yeah, opens up the space, makes it clear where he wants it. Now he's got the defender, just a little touch, and it's the speed. Also the speed from his drag across with his right to how quickly he hits it with his left. Yeah. There's no delay. It's touch and hit as it comes across. And that the speed of the hit and very little backlift, really. It's just bump, hits it quick. And I think he knows exactly what he's doing to try and aim it hard and fast and low and between the keeper's legs. The goalkeeper just can't react fast enough. And I would say Harry Kane, you see him arrange his body into that position so many times. The footwork's right, then he arranges his body so that shot there is just a constant. He can probably do that 10 times out of 10 times out of 10, because, if it was the far corner he was after, he'd be hitting that. And that's what you need, that sort of consistency of getting your body in the right position and, staying on the ball in the right way to make sure it goes there. So it's that little drag and then hit. Very, very short backlift here. It's not a big backlift. It happens very quick.
I think also, Paul, when you talk about modern day goalkeepers, strikers are sometimes now told, to strike it at the keepers because they'll spread themselves. And Harry Kane's totally aware that the keeper's he's going down. He's going to make himself big in his goal, and ultimately gets a great connection and is able to put it through his legs.
Yeah, so it's a weak spot for the goalie because he's got a spread to push off, and they can't move quick enough. The speed at which he hits it. So, but also the cues for the goalkeeper, because he touches and hits fast. That one hit in there. It's not like he gets to see a lot of cues as it's coming.
Yeah.
And Harry Kane will just know that's a stock finish from that position time after time after time after time. So that also means you've got to get your session design to allow your strikers to get into that sort of position regularly. Yeah. Okay.
So what does this look like within a game? Is obviously what we've just gone through. So again, Paul, some observational stuff, 1v1.
Yeah, I think when we're observing what they do, these top players, then it is very useful to have this sort of quadrant idea. It's not just on the floor, but in the air, because how do they arrange? You've got to look at how they arrange the body. So, he just changes speed very slightly to drag it to his left, and then the way he arranges his body, bang. Or in the other clip where he's taken he's got the cutback from Sterling, the way he arranges his body within that quadrant, you've got to really look at it, because he leans forward in that clip to make sure that he gets the contact and he keeps his body position, he keeps it stable. He stays locked in that body position, so he doesn't hit the ball and then fall away. He stays locked in with his body position to make sure that, it's not just where the ball will go will depend on the backswing, but then the follow through. So you don't want the follow through going underneath the ball and high. So he's brilliant, Harry Kane, at keeping locked in. And it's very consistent that if you see him hit that type of shot right in the corner, the far corner, and he does it with both feet. So that's, again, another lesson for our session design. Can we make sure that our forwards are getting opportunities to practice that against the defender and the goalkeeper from those sort of angles on a regular basis?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key thing is you mentioned working off of both sides, Paul. Strikers being able to have the balance to be able to strike comfortably off of both sides. So creating that opportunity in training is essential, isn't it?
Yeah, and I read somewhere that Harry Kane, from the age of about 16, he had a period where he would only use his left foot in training, or after training he was doing it. So he was honing what he could do with his right, make sure he can do with his left. And that's the difference. The top strikers can do it both sides. You can get some really good strikers who are great on one side, but can they do it on both? He does it on both. And he's got this secret of keeping the ball really low, I think.
Yeah.
And this is just a revision, really, of the process that we've been through. So what we've looked at is, can we break down the assessment of what we're doing? Well, okay, we're using the quadrant as a guide. Sometimes in the cylinder, we're using, the key factors of context. Who's he against? What type of striker are they? We're looking at position. We're looking at scanning, movement, deception, and so on. But we've broken it down also, the process, into, right, how does he get the pass in the first place from the passer? So this was the one with Sterling from the halfway line. You see Harry Kane's inside his man, but now once Sterling gets space and breaks free, he starts to run across. So that was on the first diagram we had, one of the runs across the face of the defender. And as he starts to do that, on number 3, comes across the face of him. 4, he's coming across. 5, he's opening the space up. 6, 7, it's opened up, ready for that space. So that would be the first part we're looking at. Of course, while we're doing that, the next part is, that duel with the defender. So in this other example, what is he doing? Or in the same example, once he gets into that, it's already the duel to create the space for the pass. But now, can he create the space for the shot against the defender? So he slows down. He lets the defender come in up to number 5. And then at 6 and 7, he starts to just drag and hit quickly. And then I think 9 and 10 show you like that, how he stays locked in on that body shape. It really helps you with the duel with the defender.
So Paul, just going back onto 1, and I spoke about, once you start putting defenders in there, determines when strikers can go. So if you've got 1 and the defender obviously isn't looking at Kane, because obviously he's looking at Sterling driving forward.
Yeah.
Body position is obviously closed to Kane. So Kane's in control here. He knows that if he pulls at the back of that defender, because the defender's just watching the ball, he can potentially now be able to take a touch into the box to be able to finish, which is what happens.
Exactly, and that's why it is sort of, it's vital he's looking at the defender constantly throughout, because if the defender were to rush across, he might cut back inside and go across the flow of the defender. So you've got to be looking at the defender's movement all the time. It might be he cuts back inside if the defender's sort of over covering or coming in too quick. So yeah, all of that comes into it. But yeah, I think there's a great set of clips to show you that duel with the defender.
Yeah.
Then we've gone on to the duel with the goalkeeper, and again, at this point, number 1, he's just dragging it to the side, away from the defender, but he knows straight away that, look, the number 3, the goalkeeper is now about to get set, jumping to get set. So he knows that strike, he's about 8 yards out, isn't he, from the defender, for the goalkeeper. So if he hits it quick, so if the time between his touch with his right foot to drag it and then he hits it left, if that's quick, it gives the goalkeeper less time to get set. He might still be moving. If he catches him while he's moving, he can't push off as quick and adapt. And then it's like the speed of it. So the contact, the way he arranges his body, his footwork first, the way he arranges his body. No doubt he's had a scan to see the keeper's position. I think this weekend the keeper left a space maybe high over his shoulder, so that's another option, high over your shoulder from an angle, because it's difficult for the goalkeeper from getting his hands down to up, can be a problem. But in this case, he stayed on the ball with that duel with the goalkeeper, just gone hard and through his legs, and that might hit the goalkeeper's leg and go in or go whiz past the outside of his foot. But I'm pretty sure he's aiming, and he can hit it most times, Harry Kane, right through the keeper's legs.
Yeah. So that's something that there's no fluke here, is there? This is something that obviously Harry Kane have practiced constantly. Got the keeper in the box, driving towards him. Keeper's going to make himself big. Where's the weak spot? And he finds it very well.
If you made that a really big sort of cylinder, the duel between him and the goalkeeper, then obviously the space is from that distance. With power, the space is definitely through his legs or past his feet, because he can't get his hands down quickly enough, or it might well be over the shoulder. So you're looking at what are the dangerous spaces to hit, definitely. And then we just look in the last one, we're talking about this technical execution. So those 4 steps, we've broken it down. So the drag to the right here, gets in the yard. I think it's then the speed of the shot from dragging to hitting is important. But then it's the, how he keeps his body shape locked in, so it doesn't go over the bar. He makes sure he keeps it low, and he's a master at this, obviously. The amount of goals he's scored like this is incredible, and a great example for young players, but also for our coaches to say, he's got to make sure you hit it low and look at your body shape, look how he stays locked in, I think is a key thing.
Yeah, just the way he shifts the ball, he's in control the whole time, Paul, isn't he? He's the ball, he shifts it to the side, and when he gets his shot off, there's not much time between him shifting it out of his feet and him actually executing it.
Yeah, that speed's vital. Yeah, and then the speed of the shot, fantastic.
So again, just going through the webinar, the process, the summary. Obviously, there's loads and loads of detail given out there, and my advice would be to go back through the recording and look at the stuff in and around the box, because there's so much to look at, so many combinations, movement patterns, feet patterns, communication between passer receiver. So we've studied the 1v1 duel using the Quadrant observational tool to identify skills and movement patterns of 1v1 duels. Observe your players using the Quadrant tool. So it might be the passer, the receiver, or the players on or around or away from the ball, and utilize your observations when planning, delivering, and reviewing your sessions. So, Paul, I think you've done a fantastic job of going through that, and I appreciate your input for today, and also the support behind the scenes with with Simon as well. So thank you, Simon, for that, and hopefully you enjoyed that, and look forward to seeing you all again soon. Cheers, Paul.
Thanks a lot.